Hello, and welcome to This Is the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I love working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Brenda Winkle. But before that, I would like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Rae, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer, passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Brenda Winkle, about how sacred leadership begins within and how we can lead with more intuition, alignment, and ease in both life and business. Now, Brenda is a dynamic speaker, intuitive coach, psychic medium, and energetic leader who empowers visionary leaders to lead with more ease, alignment, and intuition. Now, with a background in public education, somatic coaching, and energy healing, Brenda combines grounded tools with spiritual depth to help visionary leaders retain their and reclaim their energy, refine their boundaries, and trust themselves fully, both in life and business. Now, Brenda is known for her warm, empowering presence and her signature blend of energetic mastery, trauma informed coaching, and energy healing and embodied leadership. Whether she's leading a breathwork session, holding space in a one-to-one session, hosting a podcast interview, or speaking from stage, Brenda activates transformation with clarity, compassion, and soul. And yes, Brenda is also the host of Yes Field Life podcast, a globally ranked top 5% podcast, where she shares insights on leadership, well-being, and energy alignment. Now, Brenda's mission is simple to help high achieving women feel better, trust themselves, and lead with joy. So, without further delay, hello, Brenda, and a warm welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
Hi, Rae. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to be in your presence and to be here with the community. So thank you.
You are welcome. So, before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments, and thoughts, as both Brenda and I want to be part of this conversation. So, please don't be shy. So, Brenda, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how sacred leadership begins within?
I would love to share. So I've always been sensitive ever since I can remember. I don't have a memory of when my gifts came in. I just always have known that I could see things, feel things, sense things, hear things that other people may not. And in my early childhood, I recognized very quickly, like between kindergarten and first grade, or grade one, depending on what part of the world you live in, I recognized that my gifts were frightening to other adults. And so I interpreted that as my delivery was bad, which probably it was, because I had no discernment, no understanding of what was appropriate to say and what wasn't. But I took it very personally. And so I took my gifts underground and became a world class people pleaser. Now, all of this was happening alongside abuse that was behind closed doors with a trusted family friend. And so I was navigating my gifts, trying to understand what was real, what was not real, what was okay, what was not okay. At the same time, I was enduring abuse. And so this people pleasing became a lifeline. I enjoyed making sure people felt good because it ensured my safety. So if people in the room were happy, I knew I could be happy. And this continued until my mid 30s. I was in a marriage, I had a child, I was in a career as a music educator, and I was people pleasing as though my life depended on it. until I went to a leadership conference. And at that leadership conference, I felt possibility. I felt like there could be a change, like I could really make a difference in the world. And I was so excited right until I got on the plane to come home. And when I got off the plane, I realized that there was a huge gap between where I was in my life, where I had basically made compromises on everything that mattered to me, and where I wanted to be. And I had no idea how to bridge the gap. And so that day in 2007, I just went home and I curled up in the bottom of the closet and I cried. And being raised in the middle of the United States in a very small town, I was raised by two music educators, and they were very good at what they did. They had accolades and awards, and I wanted accolades and awards. So I became the chaser of gold stars. I wanted certificates and plaques and notifications of achievement, and boy, did I get them. I hustled for my worth because it just felt so good. I lacked that internal validation, so I sought the external validation. And that continued right up until I was 35, when after I'd come home from that conference and integrated again, I realized I was in a marriage full of compromises and I decided to leave. So I started a healing journey with my daughter when she was 5. And that led me to finding yoga, and then eventually led me to finding Usui Reiki and theta healing and angel cards and oracles. And then I just sought certification after certification. And now I am a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator and a trauma-informed somatic coach, in addition to having a master's degree in educational leadership. And it wasn't until a health crisis in 2019 that I realized, oh, I'm still hustling for my worth. And so in 2019, I just said a little prayer, which is, I don't know how to get off this hamster wheel, but I need help and I'm ready to surrender. Well, within 2 years' time, I was in a different career. I was working for myself full time when this had been a very part-time gig while I was teaching. And I was living in a different state in the United States, in a different city, in a different style of living. And I have never been more appreciative and more grateful. And so that's what brings me here today.
Wow, what a journey. And it's brilliant that, well, maybe it's not brilliant, but the fact that you went on a healing journey with your daughter, because I think sometimes we forget when we've gone through, or we're going through struggles, that, the children around us can pick up on those energies.
That's right. They absolutely do pick up on those energies. They pick up more of what we do and how we feel than what we say. And in fact, it was a loving friend who really challenged me as I was putting on the brakes on, should I stay in this marriage that's not suited for me? Should I stay in this career that isn't lighting me up anymore? And she said, what do you think your daughter is learning from watching you stay? And it just broke my heart. And at that time, I didn't have the self respect or the self esteem to do it for myself, but I did it for her. And so, if anybody's listening that relates to that, I've been there. And then also, it doesn't have to start there. It might just start in, you want to expand. You want to bring your gifts into the world. You want to step into the leadership that you're called to step into. Because at the end of the day, and this brings us to your question about what is sacred leadership, at the end of the day, we each have something on our heart that is unique to us. And that is medicine for the world. And when we own that and we give ourselves permission to step into it even a little bit, the world changes. The ripple effect is huge.
Yeah, and I just love the ripple effect. It's just, I talk about it all the time, how much we can influence and change the world, both ways, for good, for bad. But when we do it, in light and love, then it's so much bigger than what we can possibly anticipate, and we can touch so many more lives, who can then touch so many more lives.
That's right. That's right. And it's easy to think that it's just me. What can I do to change the world? But the truth is, it's just you. How many people do you know? How many people do the people that you know? And if you show up with more love, with more joy, with more focus on the things that really matter, imagine the ripple effect. Let's say, for easy math, you have 100 people in your circle of influence between neighbors, coworkers, family members, friends, which is probably pretty low for most of us. We probably know more than 100 people. Let's say 100 of your people watched you really step into your most aligned, most heart led, love led leadership. The numbers are astronomical of the changes that could be made when we give ourselves permission to lead with heart, with empathy, with compassion.
Yeah. But I suppose the big question is, yeah, great, but where do I start? What do I do?
I love this. Now, this is exactly where I work with people. So I work with these heart-led leaders who know they have something to contribute. And very often I'll hear one of two things. I'll hear, I know I'm here to make a change, but I can't decide between these 5 things. Or I'll hear, I know I'm meant to make a change, but I don't know what it is. And both are okay. Both are great starting places. And also, once in a while, I'll hear, I know I'm here to make this specific change. So my question is always, why? In fact, I say in session with people and in my group coaching program, I say, I'm going to treat you probably like a 7-year-old would treat you right now. And after everything you say, I'm going to say, why? And we're going to get into at least 5 levels of why. Why do you think this is your calling? Or why do you think this is important to you? Why do you feel like it's important to you? And when we start to dig into those deeper whys, all of a sudden it becomes so much more clear. And when we're clear, when we have that clarity, then we can begin to start to see next steps. And also, it's not such a big deal if we face rejection, which we will, if we face criticism, which we will, and we become almost armor coated. Because if our why is really clear for us, then all the other stuff kind of just falls to the side. And I want to say it might take more than 5 levels of why. So let me give you an example. When I first started to dig into this work, I was asking myself, why do I want to do this work? And my answer was, I want to make a difference. And so then I asked myself, why do I want to make a difference? And then I answered, I want to make a difference because I want people to not have to go through the things that I went through in as long as I went through them. I'd like to shorten that circuit. And then I asked myself, why do I want to shorten that circuit for people? And the answer was, the world's on fire. I want to shorten that circuit for people because we need people out there creating change right now. And then, so that's an example of how you can get into that deeper meaning. And you can probably feel and hear my energy changing as I get into that deeper why. The truth is, leadership is not a mystery. If we are leading from something rooted deep within us, it becomes almost impossible to stop us because we're being guided by something that we're here to do in our sole purpose. And if we let the extraneous things and the external things become our why, we'll sort of lose our potency and we'll definitely lose motivation because some days it is hard to be a leader.
Yeah. And I love the, why questions. I mean, I was one of those kids that was, why? Why? As I told you, but why? And I often say to people, be curious. If you're not curious about things, then how do you know whether it's going to work or it doesn't work?
That's right. That's right. And is it that it's not working or is it that it's not working yet? And sometimes that curiosity is just a matter of changing the perception.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's actually changing the perception of it. So I've asked all these why questions and I've kind of like got to what I think, okay, yeah. Okay, so this is why I really want to do it.
Mhm.
Okay. I know why I really want to do it, but how do I do it?
Yeah, I love this because it's so important. So I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer the how do we do it, but first, we want to make sure that we're protecting our energy and we're protecting our focus and we're protecting our potency because there's so much noise around us. There's so much influence around us with social media, with people who are telling you that this will never work, with media that you might be consuming. And so we want to get really clear on, am I consuming things that are fueling me and fueling my mission? Or do I need to clean that up? Am I fueling my body with things that are fueling me and fueling my mission, or do I need to clean that up? And then we want to talk about actually protecting your energy. So we're all energetic beings, whether you're a believer in angels, which I assume most of the audience here is a believer in angels and energy. But even if you're like, just happen to pop on this and you're like, I'm curious, I'm toe dipping, you can measure electromagnetic fields using scientific instruments. So we know that it is real. And when we protect our electromagnetic field, we have more energetic sovereignty. And that's key. As leaders, we have to come into it with energetic sovereignty so that we're not being influenced by other people's emotions or other people's energy. And so the way that I like to teach that is something very simple, just called the zip up method, where you're just going to pretend to make a zipping motion. I mean, you're making the motion, but I'm pretending I'm zipping from the base of my torso up over the front of my face, behind my head. And I'm just doing that 3 times. And what happens for me when I do that is I have now a sense of, this is my energy, this is my emotionality, this is your energy, your emotionality. I can still feel and sense it. I have not lost any of my empathy. And also, it's not in my body, which means I have more bandwidth to do the things that I need to do because I'm not also caretaking of your energy or emotionality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. And it is something that we have to remember, that we have to look after our own energy first. It is like that. Say, if you're in a plane going down, you put your mask on first before you put on, as a child or somebody who's not as able next to you, because without that, neither of you are going to survive.
That's right. And as leaders, that's absolutely critical because as a leader, even if you don't identify with the title leader, like let's say you don't have a position that has leader in the title, you're still a leader. Whether it's because you're the mom that everybody talks to coordinate the carpool, or you're the mom who's organizing the play dates, or you're the social butterfly that's organizing the get-togethers with everyone, or maybe you're the one that people come to with the challenges. So leadership isn't always linked to position, and you're a leader in how you show up in everyday life, whether you want to be or not. And so it's so important to think about, how can I keep my energy really clean and pure and potent? And so then that leads us to the how. So we talked about finding your why, really getting clear on that. And sometimes it's nice to have a reflector for that, like a partner, a thought partner. If because you can kind of get into because I don't want them to think something. And I just want to say, if in your process of why it's ever about someone else, that's not the right why.
Yes.
So come back to center. Why is it important for you? So we figure out the why, then we clean up our energy. And then the next step is, we want to break down our tasks to get there into tiny pieces. One of the things as leaders that we often do is we'll put enormous things on our to-do list, like write a book. Well, write a book is about 500 steps. And if we see write a book on our calendar or our diary or our to-do list, we're probably going to continue to defer that every single day because it feels overwhelming. It feels like I can't possibly do that. So we want to break things down into the smallest parts. So yes, write a book is a good goal, and it's great to have that on your yearly goals. But write a book on your to-do list for today, that's probably overwhelming. So let's break it down. Let's write for 7 minutes. Write for 7 minutes today, and then 7 minutes tomorrow, and so on and so forth. Or if it's, in a leadership capacity and you're wanting to develop some kind of a program, can you spend a certain amount of time on that today? So these are really granular, really strategy based, but in conjunction with the energy, they'll be absolutely game changing.
Yeah, and they often say, to do things in bite-sized pieces and to, if you're going to be on the computer, 20 minutes, take a break, come back, take a break, because you do tend to lose focus.
That's right. That's right. And as sensitive, energetic beings, which are probably the bulk of people who are watching the show, we're even more sensitive to the energies and things that are coming through, which means that if we're distracted by things that are happening around us, like we're picking up on angel energy or we are having spirits come in from the other side, and then we have a physical distraction, it can be very challenging to get back on focus. And so I love to just think about, how can I create white space for myself? Can I turn off notifications for a period of time? Can I just go sit outside for a while? And that is also so essential to creating the leadership that we want.
Yeah, you definitely want to have that time to yourself to actually bring you back into who you truly are, and what you were here for, to get that focus. To focus back again, which is where you can do the bite-sized pieces.
That's right. And it's all about the bite-sized pieces, because we know from science that if we get a dopamine hit, we want to do that thing more. And checking off a box or checking off a task is a great way to get a little dopamine hit, as long as you let yourself celebrate. So if you're checking it off and moving immediately into the next thing, you're missing out on that dopamine. And so we want to take just a minute, even just long enough to say, yes, I did that. And then there's like this feeling that goes through your whole body because of the dopamine that, ooh, that felt really good. I want to complete something else now. And so we want to work with the science of our actual bodies in our sacred leadership. And that's what brings us more potential in our sacred leadership, because we'll keep going.
Yeah, and I suppose also, if you're doing that, you're actually also bringing in those energetic synchronicities to help you with the next step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we get too far out in front, we can miss guidance that's coming in the terms of synchronicities and signs. Because if I'm looking for a book publisher before I have ever written a book outline, there might be a little bit disconnect energetically. And I don't know why I keep talking about a book. There must be somebody watching that is considering writing a book, because I'm tracking that energy very, very loudly in this space, that there's a lot of aspiring authors. And so breaking things into bite-sized pieces and keeping them based in time rather than completion will be really, really helpful in as far as that. And then the other thing is that is so important to think about as leaders. No one's coming in to rescue us from our own choices. And so we have to be very aware of our own self-responsibility and give ourselves permission, and this is the big piece, permission to do the things we need to do to protect our leadership. If that means saying no, if that means setting a boundary, if that means taking a nap, if that means closing the door or going on retreat, whatever that means.
Yeah, and that's actually quite an interesting thing, is giving ourselves permission. How often do we give ourselves permission to do things?
That's a great question. And I think it varies a little bit for people. I find that if people were raised in homes where they were given attention for being, just being, that's easier for them to give themselves permission to take a break, to take a drink of water. But if people were raised in homes or environments where their needs were seen as an inconvenience, it's very difficult for them at the beginning of this process, and then they could learn. It comes with muscle memory. So an interesting place to start, this is not at all glamorous, but this will be literally life-changing for you, is to stop holding your bladder. When you need to use the restroom or the loo, use the restroom and relieve yourself. And the trickle-down effect of meeting your body's needs when they come up is enormous, because you start to realize all of the other ways your body is giving you really, really tangible cues. This is a line for me. This is not a line for me. This decision is great. It feels good. This decision, not so much. But if we're tapping down the most basic of our human functions, we are not getting the cues from our body. We're not tapping into all the energy around us.
I like that. Yeah, because how often, especially as women, do we go, yeah, in a minute, I've got to sort all this out first before I can even think about that. And it is something that a majority of us do without even thinking about it.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know how schools, I'd be curious to know how schools are in the UK and around the world. In the United States, it's very common for people to be taught they need permission to use the restroom. And so that is reinforcing that idea that I need permission to step into my own body autonomy. And that message has really lasting consequences. And so we can begin to unpack that through embodiment practices and, very simply, refusing to hold our bladders.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the schooling is now, but I do remember at school, yeah, you had to put your hand up
Mm-hmm.
to ask to actually use the bathroom. Um,
Yeah,
and and I suppose you can understand why in some way, otherwise you'd have kids wandering in and out all the
totally.
time. But I do remember there were times when you were told you couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I taught for 26 years. And so I have intimate understanding of why that is the tradition. And also, I think that would be an interesting thing to have a dialogue around. Like, is this really the way we want to approach it? And maybe it is, but maybe there's a different way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, education could be so much different.
For sure. That's a whole nother podcast episode, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. But I have taken people into the future, and schooling is going to be so much different in the future. So we have
Absolutely.
no worries about that. We just got to get through this phase at the moment,
That's
and then
right.
it is so much more, plain sailing. So where do we go next on? So where do we go next on our journey?
So after we've broken down the thing into small steps, we want to build in a repeating cycle of success. Because if we're not feeling successful in the small steps, we stop. So we want to start to recognize when something feels good and when something feels bad. And so this is going to be in terms of our decisions on the daily level, our actions, our conversations. And if so, there's going to be like three big takeaways from this whole time together. One is we're going to protect our energy. Well, let's say four. We'll understand our why, we'll protect our energy, and then we're going to refuse to hold our bladder. And then this one, which is we're going to make sure that we are feeling good. Now, I know that that sounds simple and it feels like, well, it can't be that easy. But it really is, because your body and your emotions are always scanning for, is this right for me? Is this not right for me? And the feeling good in the body or the emotionality is your signal, this is right for me. Now, that's not to say you're never going to have a difficult emotion. You are. And you're never going to have to do things you don't want to do. You will. But if you can be aware of what it feels like to feel really, really good, then you can begin to make more choices that support that. And so, like, for example, my dad passed away in August of 2024, and that comes with a lot of grief. And I gave myself permission to feel really good in the pockets where that felt accessible. And I gave myself permission to feel exactly how I was feeling when that did not feel accessible. And the contrast led me to be able to flow through the negative emotions more easily and then to go towards the things that were nourishing, that really felt good. And so it seems simple, but Abraham Hicks, who is a spiritual teacher in the United States I follow, they say you can't make yourself poor enough to help the poor. You can't make yourself sick enough to help the sick. And I love to think about that if there's any part of me that starts to resist feeling good. And I remember, oh no, this is the medicine. Because when I'm feeling good, I can contribute to the world in such a bigger way, and so can you. And so feeling good is really a great goal. And we spend so much time permissioning ourselves to do things we don't want to do that don't feel good and telling ourselves it's somehow noble. I would love to challenge that paradigm of leadership and to say it can be a lot more ease filled, it can be a lot more joy filled, and it can feel a lot better when we're leading from our whole body, which includes the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, our bodies are so important, and what you're talking about today is really sort of like reinforcing that our bodies are so important. You know, they're not just vessels holding our spirit, holding our soul. They are kind of like the radios. If you really want to think about it, you know, looking to be tuned into what's going on.
That's right. That's right. And, with that metaphor in mind, thinking of the radio, if your radio is tuned to 101 FM, there's no way you can pick up what's on 68 AM. It won't work, which is another reason feeling good is so important. Because if you're wanting to create more connection, to find more opportunity, more abundance, more love, if we're tuned to things that don't feel that way, it's very difficult to even see the things that are holding that resonance, that hold that frequency. It's like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you open the refrigerator and you're trying to look for one specific thing and you cannot see it. And then you take a break, you close the refrigerator door, and you come back 10 minutes later and it's right there on the shelf in front of you. Your energy is shifted. And it's very much the same way when it comes to our ability to feel good and how that impacts our leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, so go out and do the experiment, you know, look in the fridge, look in your closet for something.
Yes, exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah, look in your closet. Not there, go away, come back. Oh, there it is.
That's right. That's right. That happens. That happened to me very recently.
Yeah, I think it's happened to all of us at some point, or another. So, is there anything else we need to know about our own leadership, our own sovereignty?
I think that the zipping up, it seems so simple and it seems like it's not something we should be doing every day, but I like to think of it like brushing your teeth. And we'll do it twice a day, whether you need it or not. Because when it comes to leadership, one of the things that great leaders, like really impactful, heart-led leaders, are able to do is to have the sovereignty to understand and feel when a decision is aligned and when it's not aligned. And if we're not protecting our sovereignty, then that gets very, very confusing. And so it's easy to forget that step and think that's silly, it's woo, it's not going to make a difference. But it is absolutely going to be life changing because, as energetic beings, especially sensitives, empaths, intuitives, psychics, you are even more sensitive and you're picking up more energy and emotionality of people around you. And you're going to be able to hear yourself think in a way that maybe you've never been able to hear yourself think until you start to really create that energetic sovereignty to create the leadership you want. Because let's face it, leadership comes with a certain amount of conflict. And conflict is not bad. Conflict simply means we're coming into agreement because we are looking at things with two different perspectives. And when we can be grounded and centered in ourselves, we can listen to other perspectives and we can really hear without being reactive. Which is to say, also, kind of an aside, we want to be sure we're doing our own inner work. Because if we have a lot of unhealed inner children or protector parts or unprocessed trauma, then we can sometimes try to make decisions from those places, which will take us out of alignment. Because if my 8-year-old is making the decisions for how I'm showing up as a leader, it's not going to be good for anybody.
No. No, it might be fun, but
it might be fun for me, but I don't know if it's going to be fun for anybody else.
So do you work online? Do you work in person? Do you do both?
I primarily work online. I primarily do everything remotely. I started that in 2017. And so I love that, although I do occasionally host in-person events and retreats. But the primary way is to work online. I work in one-on-ones and I work in groups. And I support high-achieving, ambitious, intuitive people, mostly women, but not exclusively women.
Yeah, yeah, and it's actually amazing because I started working online as well, sort of like before everyone was forced to work online. So it's like when that came in, it's like, yeah, I'm doing that already.
That's how I felt too. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I've had a Zoom account for years.
Yeah, well, I probably got more slicker at it.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And that probably took a little bit more notice of it. So as you know, I do guided meditations and angel oracle cards, and each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or pull an angel oracle card. But I happen to know that Brenda also does cards. So would you like to pull a card for everyone watching?
I would love that. And then will you pull a card as well?
I will indeed.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to use this deck. It's the Angels and Auras deck by Bradley Valentine and Dougal Fraser. And I'm just going to give it a little tap here and just ask for the highest and best guidance that we most need here right now come through. And there's already a card that's kind of popping up for us. Oh, it's confirmation. The angels are watching over you. You are supported and protected, loved, and encouraged. And I think that that is such a beautiful way to finish a conversation around leadership, because leadership can feel lonely, but you are never alone. The angels are always with you. And the more deeply you lean into this work, the more you are going to find and attract other people who believe the same thing that you do, and you'll build your community from there.
And community is so important these days. So let's see what my cards have got to say. So it's always when I do my cards, it's like it's what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with past life, when I take people back to the past, it's so they can understand, heal from, to bring them back into the present. And when I take people into the future, it's to see, know, and understand the future, how to get the steps. So you come back to the present, not worried about it, and you just stay in the present. So, oops, and I'm just chucking all my cards there, not just one.
I had a couple fall too.
So, what does Brenda and everyone who's watching this need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? Okay, so let's see what card wants to come out for us. You're going to love this. Taking shelter. The answers are within.
Oh, oh, that's perfect.
I mean, what more can you actually say as confirmation for what you're talking, for what, for what you're talking about, for everyone watching, it is go within, see what guidance, is in with you, trust your body, your own instincts,
Mhm.
because when you turn off all that external noise, you are that beautiful radio tuned into the right channels.
That's right. That's right. I have an event coming up. Is it okay to share about it?
Yes.
I have an event called Yes to Me. And this is designed for leaders, ambitious women, intuitives, to really step into their highest self, to unleash the leader that wants to get out. And, in the United States, we've had a little bit of a tumultuous 6 months, shall we say. And I'm of the belief that we need more leaders in the world who are coming from an embodied, soulful, heart led place. And so this journey is designed to be resourcing and support for those leaders. And so you can learn more by going to brendawinkle.com/yes to me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And do you have any insights or thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
I have something that just popped into my mind, which is if we can pay attention to and track what is feeling really good for us, what's not feeling good for us, and look at things. And this is also related to the two cards that fell when I opened the deck. One was a shower of prosperity, which I absolutely love. And the other was a reality check, which is interesting when they're coming in together, right? So it's a reminder that the prosperity, the wealth, the opportunity, the success that we all desire is here for us. And also, it is a reminder that this is a time for us to assess what we're doing, assess the actions we're taking, and then be really mindful about what's fueling and what's depleting. And I have a free energy audit that I had forgotten about until this moment. It's at brendawinkle.com/audit, AUDIT. And it's a great way to track energy. I use it myself. I was traveling full time during the period of time that my dad was ill and dying because I wanted to be flexible to get over to where he lived in Wisconsin in the US as quickly as possible. And I was traveling, stationed where he was for the last few weeks of his life, and then stayed after the funeral for a little bit, and then continued traveling. And in my travels, I had a panic attack. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I haven't had panic attacks in 15 years. What is happening? And so I started to track my energy, and I realized I needed to ground. I needed a place to just rest. And so I stopped traveling full time, came back to Portland, and settled in. And then I was talking to my clients about the decision, and they asked, well, how was it so obvious to you? And I said, well, it was because I was tracking my energy. And they said, can you give us a copy of the audit that you used? And so I shared it with them, and they were like, this is amazing. And then one of them said, I don't want the one that you write on. I want one that's digital with drop downs. And I was like, great. I'd love to make one for you. So this energy audit has, depending on what your preference is, you can print it off and use all your colored pens if that makes you happy. You can get a digital copy and use the drop down arrows, which are also color coded, if that makes you happy. And even if you just do it once in a while, it's really revealing. I do it probably weekly. And even though I'm in this work and doing this work, I'm always surprised at the things that are really fueling me and the things that are actually depleting me that I'm telling myself are fueling me.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll put the links to both free gifts in the comments after the show. And are you on social media? How can people connect with you if they're not going for the free gifts?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Brenda Winkle and Facebook at Brenda.Winkle111, I think. And I'm just kind of getting started over on TikTok. You can search for me and I'll probably come up. And I love LinkedIn as well. So yeah, come connect, ask me any questions, and tag both Rae and I. And we would love to answer any questions that you have.
Absolutely. And where can people find your podcast?
They can find it on all major platforms. It's called Your Yes Filled Life. And if you go to my website, brendawinkle.com, there's a link right there where you can get taken to the podcast.
Beautiful. And how often do your podcasts go out?
They go out once a week, and they've gone out once a week for the last 3 years, which is kind of unbelievable. I was like, let's see how this works. And here we are 3 years later, and it comes out weekly and usually on Wednesdays. I just transitioned to new podcast episodes releasing on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. My show's been going since 2018, and I actually started out on a Wednesday, and then I changed to a Monday. And apart from maybe 2 or 3 episodes, I've gone out. This show goes out every Monday, and you do kind of like when you look back, you go, "Wow, I've managed to achieve that every single week." That is like, that's pretty cool.
It is really cool. Is it okay if I ask, what was the thing in your heart that was like, I need to create this show for people?
It was being able to connect with other people, create a new community, and share wisdom and knowledge that people might not get in their, if they're in their daily life from the local news, etc. I could bring people together and bring guests to share their knowledge, so that it would make it easier for people to find other people. So it was kind of like creating the community and empowering people to take charge of their destiny.
That's so good.
What
Thank
about
you.
you?
Very much the same. When I started my podcast, it was called Waves of Joy, because I'm of the belief that when we can each find our own internal joy, everything unlocks from there. And then I switched 2 years ago and changed the title to Your Yes Filled Life, realizing that what I really wanted to portray was that feeling of yes, yes, this is so good. And so that's the feeling of Your Yes Filled Life. It's like, how do you get to that place where you can give yourself permission to show up fully in joy as you?
Beautiful. So people do check out Brenda's podcast. And I hope everyone, you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So thank you, Brenda, so much for sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely amazing and confirmation. And, as always, I learn new things as well every time I have a different guest on, even if they're talking about the same subject or stuff I know about. I always get a new perspective that goes, aha. So thank you so much for that. And of course, for anyone watching, if you are ready to connect more deeply with your soul's purpose, if you're feeling the nudge to heal, grow, and align with the life that you were born to live, then I'd love to support you. You can now join the waitlist, my Soul Path Discovery Program, which is a transformative journey for you to clear old patterns, connect with your soul's wisdom, and step forward with clarity and confidence. And you can book a free Soul Path Discovery call by messaging me direct to explore your path and see if it's the right fit when space becomes available. And of course, I do have a couple of incredible free gifts for you, designed to help you connect more deeply with your angels, guides, and explore your future. So do check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe. It is free, and hit that bell button to be notified of when this show goes live, or I post new guided meditations. And remember, every time you like, share, comment, subscribe to any of my channels, anything I put out, anything my guests put out, and share, you're really helping, with that butterfly effect of that energy going out there, and more people raising their vibration, and you can be a part of it. And of course, thank you to everyone who's got me to over 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I am so grateful. Might not seem a lot to some people, but it was a milestone I wanted to get, and I've got there without a viral video. So
It's a big deal. Congratulations.
thank you so much. So I look forward to everyone joining me same time, same place next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.